Started here. Switching a little bit here from all the left brain folks to the right brain. And what I mean by that, there's a lot of incredible scientists here. And part of my job in working with all the I&E folks is a little bit more the creative and outreach side. And hopefully, as we go through this, you'll see what we've been working on, as well as some of that social acceptance that was asked about. We can start to see some things. And before I step down off my soapbox, because I will do that in a sec, I do want to thank all the members that have brought their information education folks here, as well as all the other outreach people that are here. But I would always like to say that we need to do more education outreach within the agencies. Those folks do lots of other jobs, and just like all the other biologists and enforcement folks, but the level of work that we need to put in, especially at the phase we're at, for education outreach needs to be increased. That's my little soapbox. And to give an example of that is that each year the Interagency Grizzly Bear Committee gives out a whopping $36,000 for educational outreach products. And we ask for requests or proposals from the various member agencies in the ecosystem. The deadline was last Friday. Our ecosystem, after notifying all of our member agencies, we had 3 proposals. And one of those was one that I worked on with the forest. So again, we should have gotten more requests internally. Again, 36,000 is nowhere near enough. But again, normally we like to fight over that a little bit more. And again, we'll be working with the other ecosystems to see how we disperse that money. But we should have more interest at the information education end. And I would encourage all the members to really cut their people as much slack when they can when it comes down to grizzly bear outreach, and encourage them, and maybe as part of their job descriptions, to do more in that respect. And I'm very thankful to my agency and my supervisor for allowing me to be able to do what I do here. So I'll get off my soapbox, because what we try to do is make humans smarter than the average bear. And sometimes we work and sometimes we don't. And again, a lot of neat things have happened. I did put the call out to other agencies for them to come and give me information. We did not get any sent to me. But I will say that Chris Smith will be talking here shortly from Wildlife Management Institute, all the work that WMI has done to help supplement all the education outreach, and it's tremendous. And I do believe someone from Wyoming will be talking about what they're doing. And again, it's not that these folks aren't doing things. There's lots of good work happening, but we don't have that sharing network going like we really could to make it go even better in the future. And so hopefully, as we go forward, we're going to increase that more, and we have done more. I think when you look at some of the things from this year. One thing I do want to again make note of is that there was an award that was given to the Forest Service as well as the Greater Yellowstone Coalition for the partnership that's going on. I think that's a key to where all this is going. It's not just going to be the agencies that make these things happen. It's going to be the NGOs as well as the residents that live there. That's a social acceptability that we're talking about, and I just wanted to highlight and recognize the award that was given this year, because I think it's a great thing. A good example of that at our grassroots level is we did have an ongoing outreach in the Island Park and Teton Basin area between Fish and Game, Forest Service, and Great Yellowstone Coalition to try to work with the public about living in bear country. And again, we did numerous programs around the region, lots of good contacts, and again, a multi-partner kind of thing, and it was, I think, very successful. And I know we've got lots of plans for the future, particularly, again, when we talk about that social acceptance as far as and the tolerance from place to place changes, and it can be measured, maybe not scientifically, but by the reaction of the public and how they are willing to live with bears. One thing I do want to make note of is we do have our bear education trailer, which some of the other ecosystems have and other partners, and I want to salute our Idaho Master Naturalists. We have a special cadre of bear education folks, and one of them is here today, Ken Olson, and he leads up these volunteers that have helped us do dozens of outreaches this summer alone, reaching thousands of folks. And again, not agency people doing it, but other just citizens that live there talking to folks about bears and bear education. And we've taken our trailer all the way from even down into Utah for folks that are coming up to visit the ecosystem, as well as into other parts of the ecosystem where there's activities going on and the public is there. Like the Teton Music Festival, we were there and did lots of outreach. And again, I know the folks in Wyoming are doing good things, but we had a chance to slide in there, and we did that. And again, just supplement some of the work that's going on. The ski hill itself does have education outreach that we supplement. And so again, I don't think we can ever do enough, especially with the transient population that we have as far as people moving through the ecosystem. One thing we are proud of in Idaho is that we do have a two-credit college course called Wild About Bears that we offer. We host up at Harriman State Park, which is host to both black bears and grizzly bears. And again, it's a cooperative effort. We have folks from the Park Service help us out. And we even use curriculum that was developed through the IGBC and the folks at the International Bear Trust. Or Bear Trust International, and that curriculum is about should we delist the Yellowstone grizzly bear or not. And if you are a parent or know of a school group that would like an exercise that's very scientifically based, they can go to the IGB website, download this activity where the students get to analyze the data and come up and make a decision based on all the various criteria about whether the Yellowstone grizzly bear should be delisted. So again, lots of different methods of outreach, and these all create different levels of, hopefully, if not of acceptance, but of understanding. And again, one thing you will note for a little light point here is you'll notice that Yogi in this image, I don't know if there's a pointer on there, is lacking a baculum in this one. In the initial image, he has his foot up, which many folks mistook for a baculum, so we had to rearrange it and give him 2 feet to stand on. Another thing about our partners that we're really proud of are the folks at the Grizzly Wolf Discovery Center. We work with them for our workshop, but as well as at the IGBC product testing level, and they have been recognized nationally by the AZA for their education and outreach efforts for supporting us. So again, all these different folks are working with us to get the message out to the public, and the folks up at the Grizzly Wolf Discovery Center do an excellent job of just trying to promote bear safety, bear education to all the various publics that visit the center. And also I want to point out that the Wyoming Game and Fish do put out news releases every time they move a bear, and it's required by law, but it's a great thing because it stimulates interest in what's happening with the bear. It makes people aware of what is going on in their ecosystem, where they live. And so every time one of these comes out, I look at it to see if we've had a bear put into Wyoming near Idaho that might wander in, which can occasionally happen, but also just to know where it was at and what happened. And again, the public benefits by these types of informational outreaches, and I wanted to thank Wyoming for all they do there. We are, again, working with NGOs. This is part of the High Divide LCC, trying to, again, work to see when we're benefiting all these other species, how can we plug grizzly bears in? And this is a flight we did with those folks in GYC and some other people trying to identify linkage spots where money could be maybe focused from private sources or to create linkage for the bears. So again, not just the agencies working on this, but the NGOs, and not just NGOs locally, but nationally and even internationally. And again, we've been trying to lots of different outreach, whether it's radio, whether it's Facebook, whether it's ads in High Country News and face-to-face. It's a shotgun method you have to use. You can't just say we're going to go internet, we're going to go trailer education. It's everything that you have to reach out to the various publics. And I think the agencies do a really good job of that. I would like to be able to report on that. So again, another word to my managers here from the various agencies, please have your folks let us know the good things that they're doing so we can tell everyone else. And to kind of get started looking at part of what I do is keep an eye on what the media is saying, particularly the internet, because all the different media is channeled into it, whether it's print or internet or radio or television. Now it ends up on there, and we can start getting an idea of what, again, the public perception is, what's the message getting out there. And again, one thing I think we need to feel good about to the folks, particularly in Yellowstone, is that you can have these kinds of crowds and incredibly few problems. Okay, it really means they're doing all they can to have people and bears, whether they're black bears or grizzly bears, in relatively close proximity, people learning, enjoying, and not having problems. Again, when you get that many visitors, you are going to have a problem. And again, the media does jump on it, but and so this is one that made the internet. Some folks may have seen it about people wanted Yellowstone to train the bears to stay around longer so they could be seen. And Carrie can work on that. And again, like I say, things do happen, but again, when you look at 3.8 million visitors or more, it's for that person and their family, it's very significant, but in the realm of the bigger picture, it's just a way we can start to talk to people about, again, what do we do in bear country, what are various things we can do to be safe. And then again, it starts other social dialogues that are out there about how do we manage these bears. And these are all things that we're getting into now. We're getting beyond the point of the recovery aspect. We're getting into the people management aspect of it all. And in Idaho, even though we don't have nearly the bear situation that maybe Wyoming or Montana, we do have bears and we do have things that occur. And this was a situation where, at first people were like, well, why did you put that bear down? And then one picture tells it all. When you look at that bear's teeth. That bear couldn't make it out there on his own anymore. And it's always fun or informational to read the comments to see what people have to say about a various story. You'll see that there's all different viewpoints on whatever the story is, and some you may agree with, some you may not, but at least they provide you a perspective on what the people are thinking about that various situation. And again, one thing that I think is kind of promising is that this was a story that occurred up in Montana this summer and fall, and I'm quoted in there, but I never spoke to that person. He had picked that quote up from another paper interview that I did, but the underlying message was, when you got a problem with a bear, you just can't pick them up and throw them somewhere else. The ecosystem isn't big enough to do that. We have to take care of a problem before it starts. And to see the media start to learn that message, I think that's a good thing for me to see, because again, they're the ones, if they get the messages right, can carry them forward. Sometimes they don't, and that's our challenge to work with them. And again, people start to look at the situation, start to try to understand a little bit more about the logistics of what happened, and it gives us again an opening to talk to the public, to talk to the media about what we can do. And again, these are situations that are occurring in Idaho, although not in our ecosystem, but just this week alone, in the Northern Continental Divide ecosystem, 3 grizzlies were killed by an auto incident. So again, that's one of those things we may need to, how do we address that issue? How do we focus on that? How do we educate? Those are things, again, moving beyond our science to that living with these animals. And again, this was a bear we had. And this again sparked a lot of discussion about a bear that's been close to humans. What do you do with it? What do you do with the cubs? And again, lots of different viewpoints on how it should be handled. And one thing you'll find out is that there's no one universal answer. Everyone has a different viewpoint on it, depending whether they live there, depending whether how they perceive bears. But again, they're always, for us, hopefully, a chance to work with the media, to work with the public, to get out the right message. And this is one that I thought was great. We started talking about the integration of messages. We had that situation with the bear. We had someone individually on Facebook posting a link to our our video on YouTube on how to use bear spray. So again, the public doing the outreach for us is just an incredible thing. We can't, and the more we get the social media working like that for us, the better off we are. And again, the bears are always in the news, to the point that now, again, we're at where we've got a lot of discussion happening here, and so this helps put into context what we're working on right now as far as the different viewpoints. And again, not the viewpoints just about the recovery, but about bears themselves, and that's not from our ecosystem there, but again, we start having conflicts with humans and bears, and how do people react? And it's amazing that a lot of folks are saying, yeah, I got attacked by the bear, but it wasn't the bear's fault. Okay? And we're seeing time after time testimonial to bear spray when people carry the bear spray and actually use it if they get a chance. And one thing that's, I think, also promising is you go into Cabela's now, and we have companies that are selling not just bear spray, but inert canisters with it, so folks can practice with the bear spray. To me, that's a real success to have that out there, because once you jump into that marketing arena, that's a whole other level of outreach. But yet there's still going to be folks like this. This is a gun blog about the types of guns to shoot bears and things. And again, people are still going to fall back on that. But we're seeing time and time again when the folks do have the ability to use bear spray, it does work. We did have a situation where we did have a bow hunter that was attacked. And this is Larry, one of our former Yes members last spring, who did have bear spray work for him. And again, has been telling lots of folks about it. But this bear here, when the hunter was attacked, the bear actually was biting his left hand, and he had the bear spray in his left hip, so he couldn't grab it. But he didn't have his 45 with him. He pulled that out while the bear was biting him. 5 shots. Okay, that bear is still alive today. We don't know if he hit the bear. We don't know what happened. But again, point blank, the bear is this close, holding on to him. He's got the gun here, and yet the bear let him go, fortunately, too. But again, the gun isn't always the answer. The bear spray, we just keep pushing it all we can. And again, the locals, folks, I think we show we can do what's right when the time comes. And this is a case we had last year in Idaho, where a mistaken identity was claimed for an attack, and in result, there was a conviction. And so again, we're at that point again where we're dealing with how the public's perceiving what's happening. And some of the stories are not all doom and gloom stories. They're quote human interest stories in bears, and what the success you can have in longevity of a bear. That's a great kind of story to have out there. And again, we're at the point here where we've got our discussions that are happening. And these are all in the last day, if not week. So a lot of different viewpoints on where we're at. And again, there's some interesting articles out there pointing out what role humans play in bears in breaking down, again, were they attacks, were they misidentification, were they management actions, and so lots of good discussion. Also, there's some, frankly, bad discussion out there, bad science. Reports like this were put out that really, in my mind, were fairly shoddy as far as the science involved, and as far as the fact that none of the bear managers from the Yellowstone ecosystem were a part of this, but yet it implies that. So again, we've got challenges here where at our last meeting, we had the various tribes come forward. We also, I think, there's more groups out there that aren't just the involved tribes, but other Native American groups that are coming forward, so that's a challenge we're dealing with. And we do have folks out there that are just bringing up all kinds of, honestly, strange things. And again, when you read these, how does this tie into the work we're doing? I don't understand it. And again, it's not just here, it's everywhere. We've got this, folks, all different types of belief systems and faiths and ideas involved. So it's not just a local problem, it's an international situation we're working in. And on a lighter note to end up, some folks, so you're not disheartened, Yogi Bear is not dead. When Yogi Berra died, a lot of the media picked it up and just ran with the wrong name, so the wrong image. So again, I think we're at a point where we've done a lot of good work. There's a lot of outreach yet to be done. I think a lot of our partners can be a real asset to us. And I would just encourage support by the agencies to work with all these different groups that are out there at the grassroots level, because that's, again, that social tolerance we talk about. It's going to be what we need to have to make the continued success of the recovery happen. Thank you. Oh, one last thing I didn't mention, but I am recording this because at our summer ITBC meeting, we did discuss being able to post some of the presentations. And so here, the PowerPoints are being posted, not in a form that you could actually use them, but you can actually see them. And I am recording the audio, so hopefully the IGD website will have then the presentations you're seeing here, as well as the audio to go along with them to explain them. And again, that's something we're working towards, again, getting more of the information out wherever we can. Thanks.